Hey guys, it's been a while. It's been a few weeks at least since we did a show. Nice to see you back. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining with us. Thanks for checking this out later. It's Mother's Day, by the way, so happy Mother's Day out there to all of you who have who have moms. Most of us have had moms, or maybe you are a mom. I got really lucky. I got super awesome parents, so we went out today. It was nice. So yeah, happy Mother's Day. It's a huge, well, I mean, it's not always great. There's some terrible people out there also that have kids, but when you got a mom that really loves you and cares for you, man, what a great gift. You know? Most of my friends don't even have their parents anymore with them. Some of them, their parents are still alive, but they don't have relationships with them. So I always have to keep that in mind. Throughout the years, I've always kept a really good relationship with my parents. I'm proud of that, and they're really good people too. So enough about my mom and dad, though. Let's let's get into business. Before we do, though, once again, thanks for being here. Let me explain something real quick to you guys. The reason I've slowed down on the shows, well, especially last week, is a couple weeks ago I was looking at my analytics on the channel, and I usually don't pay much attention to it, but everything is in the red, like deep in the red. One of the elements of the channel is actually down 57%, so it's all really, really bad. So I started looking through the months of my work and everything, and that's really where I saw a slow drop off, because once I started doing these shows, I enjoy these shows, and I enjoy doing shows in general. I've done them for years. But once I started doing these, they started affecting the output of my videos, because so many times in these shows, I was using stories that typically I would start creating videos out of. And so I knew that was an issue even over the last month of doing a show. Sometimes I'd see that, like, man, do I share this? Or do I put it in a video? And it just became easier just to share everything in one big, lump, like in one show. But it's also screwed me over, because the main thing I like doing the most is videos. So I started missing that as well, so I said, okay, this week I need to not do a show, focus on videos. So I put up 4 new videos this past week, and I've got several others almost ready to go. So I got a bunch more coming this week, at least 3 more coming this week. So I've been really productive with my videos, and it's helping, So the main thing with the channel too is you want to reach people. I want to get my videos out there. I want people to see things, to understand, to open their minds, hopefully bring them to Christ ultimately, right? So that's a thing as well. And this has happened with my channel before. Some of it's not organic. There's a whole thing with YouTube, and sometimes they'll shadow ban you. It's really weird. I've made videos in the past, like years ago, about this. Then I take them down after a week, or I'd complain about that. But I know other people see it as well. I went into Reddit, and I saw a bunch of things in there about shadow banning on Twitter and also on YouTube. So I know other people experience it too. I mean, like, my channel will get frozen on subs for months. It's been on 467,000 now for a couple months. And even my videos don't work the same. It's like I've got 500,000 subs. My newest video stopped basically at 30 or 40,000 views. I think 40,000 views now. Again, this has happened before in the past. I've seen the pattern. I know other YouTubers have dealt with this too. For whatever reason, it clears after a while, but it sticks on your channel for a while, and it's like your subs basically freeze and your videos don't get much traction. Even the ones that are doing good are barely top out at 100,000. And, I know for people with smaller channels, they're like, oh, boo-hoo, but you don't understand, you understand the ratios and all that stuff. The longer you've had a channel and the more you read into analytics. So anyway, I don't want to keep dragging on about this. So yeah, for the next few months or so, I'll be doing 2 of these shows a week on Sundays. Okay. Like every couple of weeks, I'll do one on a Sunday evening. And in between, I plan on putting out a lot of content. So that's kind of the plan right now. Even probably doing some little chat shows and stuff in between those weeks as well. But that's kind of the plan now. So anyway, enough about all that. Let's get into the news. The weird news. Some of this is going to go beyond the week as well, the past week, just because we've been off for a few weeks. So this is terrifying. Makeup artist 25 stuns Instagram after transforming himself into Kylie Jenner's baby daughter Stormy, and users can't get over how creepy the final look is. Okay, let's take a look at this. A makeup artist has gone viral after posting a tutorial that saw him transforming himself into Kylie Jenner's baby using makeup. British makeup artist Alexis Stone, also known as Elliot Joseph Rents, shared the clip to Instagram on Tuesday, April 16th, where it's garnered more than 748,000 views and over 1,900 comments. The step-by-step tutorial shows Alexis using makeup to make himself look like the one-year-old child, and the end result is absolutely bizarre. Let's take a look. And there it is. There it was. Let's see if there's some pictures I can pull up here. Crazy, huh? Creepy. Creepy. I mean, it's creepy that this dude's playing with makeup anyway, in my opinion, but wow. Dude's got a lot of time on his hands. And of all things to transform yourself into, right? There you go. Full-grown man playing with makeup, turning himself into a one-year-old baby. What could go wrong? Crazy. Eek. He did good. I'll give him that. Anyway, there you go. If you had artistic ability like that, would you want to turn yourself into a one-year-old baby? That's the question. Okay, this kid, hello. There we go. Hi. Hi, Story. Please come back. I've been having issues with Bing also. These Google Chrome computers can be kind of trash sometimes. It's what I use to broadcast on. And it's got me stuck on Bing, B-I-N-G search engine, which is real choppy, and it kind of sucks. Supermarkets installing creepy cameras that guess people's age and sex. What could go wrong? More of this stuff, right? I mean, seriously, we're seeing more of this. I am going to do a little chat sometime over the next few weeks. It's going to be a bit more serious just because of everything that's going on right now, man. I mean, it's like really, everything's really speeding up. And I mean, I'm, just the things we're seeing, the ritual of the spire burning in Paris, all of the things that were connected with that. I put up a short video over on my website about some predictive programming in Rosemary's Baby. Even in that movie Rosemary's Baby, there's a big picture up in one of the Satanists' homes of a massive church on fire, and it looks like the one from Paris, from France. It's pretty weird. Also, the fact that whole movie is about the birthing of the Antichrist, and there's other elements of that we found around the fire as well. I made a video about that. So, and other things, the way people are treating each other. I've got a video about how people's hearts are growing colder. I've been kind of working on for a few weeks, but that's one of the ones that'll be up this week. Just some of the even statistics you'll see. It's crazy. And this stuff as well, just more intrusive technology. Supermarkets in the U.S. are installing cameras that guess your age and sex in an attempt to show you real-time targeted adverts on in-store video screens. The new technology, which remains in its early stages of development, is being rolled out at shops in a number of U.S. states and is being marketed to retailers as a way of competing with online rivals like Amazon, which are able to gather masses of data on its customers. But the cameras, which are small and hard to spot, are raising concerns over privacy and potential discrimination. The creepy factor here is definitely a 10 out of 10, said Pam Dixon, the executive director of the World Privacy Forum, a nonprofit organization that researches privacy issues. At the National Retail Federation trade show in New York earlier this year, a smart shelf on display by Mood Media tried to detect, quote, happiness or fear as people stood in front of it. This is insane. Information a store could use to gauge reaction to product on the shelf or an advert on a screen. Excuse me, which I think is also, they may mean that, but it's also a cheap excuse. And we know the dangers of this kind of technology and where this can go. Right? Cineplex Digital Media showed off video screens that can be placed in shopping centers or bus stops and try to tell if someone is wearing glasses or sporting a beard. which in turn can be used to sell adverts for relevant products such as new frames or razors. Did you see there's I think it was a news story, but it has to do with the social credit system in China. And it was showing a guy jaywalking, and they have these big screens like in the all around the city and stuff, and it'll broadcast the person committing the crime. Did you see that? I need to make sure that that is a legit thing because I go through so much media throughout the week, finding things for videos, finding things for the shows, and just things I want to hold on to, weird bits of news. But I know I've seen that somewhere. So if you find that story, if you want to share it with us, that'd be cool. But I'll double check on that. But here we go. The screens can also be placed at drive-thrus. A minivan pulling into a fast food restaurant, for example, might get an advert for a family-sized meal on the video screen menu. For now, the cameras are just in a handful of stores. Kroger, which is 2,800 supermarkets, is testing cameras embedded in a price sign above shelves in 2 stores in the suburbs outside Cincinnati and Seattle. Video screens attached to the shelves can play adverts and show discounts. Kroger said the cameras guess a shopper's age and sex, but the information is anonymous and the data is not being stored. We can't trust any other company out there that takes our data and says they're not going to share it. If the tests work out well, the company said it could expand into other locations. There you go, man. Minority Report continues to become a reality, doesn't it? Minority Report with Tom Cruise. You seen this? This is just more of the as above, so below has already been in action for quite a while, especially as we approach the appearance of the Antichrist. So we see a lot of the satanic stuff literally now manifesting in reality. Satanic fountain daubed with dung near Bologna. May 9th, a fountain featuring a horned fawn with an erect wiener was daubed with doo-doo by conservative protesters near Bologna overnight. The fountains caused a row in the mountains near Bologna, with detractors calling it satanic and admirers saying it's a prime example of public art. The work, sculpted by artist Luigi Antani, has been slammed by Conservative League Senator Luigi Pallone, among others. On his Facebook page, Pallone said it was an imposing statue of a devil with huge horns and a glaringly erect wiener, carrying on his back a boy with butterfly wings, right? Butterfly wings. And it's just like the Baphomet the Satanic Temple's been trying to put out there. And I'm sure this right here is going to go into a future video. This is going to connect with some things. I'm already seeing it, but they always involve the innocents. They always involve the children with these demonic statues, right? At least we have seen that in a few moments or a few instances. Specifically, the Satanic Temple's Baphomet's got the 2 children standing side by side, right? And they have those creepy books for children, the satanic books they're trying to get into schools. They may have got some into some schools by now. I'm not sure, but there you go, man. So, yeah. It's not so much about the story, it's about the symbolism and what's manifesting, right? In more and more ways. It's becoming more and more mainstream. Satanism has definitely become more mainstream. They even have that documentary out, The Satanic Temple. That's a new documentary out. There's Chubbs. Hi. What's up? You want to come say hi? Get those fuzzy buns over here. What's on your mind? Hi. Okay, he's not going to say anything now. Maybe he's going to crawl over here, though. Coca-Cola releases crescent moon logo for Ramadan. There's 2 protected groups. And I know, I've worked with Muslims throughout the years, had Muslim friends, especially out in Los Angeles. Known many here on YouTube. It was all young Muslim men that were doing decode videos over a decade ago on YouTube that first opened my eyes to a lot of the things I'm into now. So I have to give credit where it's due. But, there's extremist sides of every religion. Christianity has it, and of course, Islam and others. There's extremists in everything. But the point of the matter is, no matter how everything else plays out, remember, we're living in the upside down and topsy-turvy world, so everything's nuts. But there's 2 protected classes we're seeing right now, and it's LGBTQZ and all of that included, and Islam as well, right? We're seeing both of those being more protected groups in a lot of these stories. and Christianity under attack, or really anybody on the quote right under attack. It's interesting, and I know it works on many levels, and in some ways it works to turn us against each other, right? Again, I don't blanket every Muslim in the category of being an extremist or something or whatever, just because I've known many in the past that were really good people. They believed in their religion. They were good folks, they were just good people, man. And maybe they were more moderate, I guess you could say. But same in, the religion of Christianity. Some of the most annoying, irritating, obnoxious people I've ever known are, quote, Christians. But then we know there's a difference between the religious and, the followers of Christ, right? The people who really try to walk the walk. And that's why the most important thing to me has always been just the basic. Make sure they have Christ. You need to go through the Son to get to the Father. So as long as they've got Jesus, in my opinion, we're good. It doesn't mean we have to hang out together. It doesn't mean we have to, that's the hard part. Because I know we're all brothers and sisters. We're all supposed to commune, but it's just sometimes there's elements you just don't want to be around. Like I said, I've had many very hateful religious people out there, Christian people, throughout the years I've had to deal with here with the channel, and of course just in real life as well, So again, we can't blanket all of them into one category. There's segments of every group, but there's definitely two protected classes the New World Order is pushing out there: LGBTQZ and everything included, and Islam. Coca-Cola releases crescent moon logo for Ramadan. Would they ever release a Christian cross? I'm just saying, for Easter, even though we know Easter's pagan. But the campaign will feature advertising posters with a familiar Coke logo surrounded by a crescent moon, an iconographic Islamic symbol. Coca-Cola's Norwegian marketing manager says the new logo is part of the brand's commitment to diversity and inclusion. In Muslim countries, we have a long history of highlighting Ramadan, just as we in this country have tradition for Christmas campaigns. He said, now for the first time in Norway, we want to celebrate Ramadan together with Norwegian Muslims. Okay. There you go. Why does everything have to be political now anyway, too? It's really annoying, isn't it? They're politicizing everything. This is from January 7th, 2019. Still, I wanted to share it. Falling IQ scores suggest we're getting dumber. Can we reverse course? My other question is, why did they use this picture in particular? Do they know something about these three young ladies that we don't? Are all three of them idiots? Morons? I don't think so. Again, I don't know, but just weird picture to choose. We're getting dumber. In a June 2018 issue of Newsweek, Scotty Andrew reported the following. A Norwegian study published Monday found a 7-point dip in IQ test scores per generation among men born from 1962 to 1991. The results suggest a reversal in the Flynn effect, an observed increase in IQ scores throughout the 20th century in developed countries. Researchers, Norwegian men entering the country's military. Okay. Whatever. There's other stories out there about falling IQ scores. I think I meant to grab another one. This just has to do with Norwegian men, which is probably a very small percentage of my listening audience. Just guessing. But still, it is interesting that there are many stories out there about the falling IQ scores. I've been working on a story about us literally being an idiocracy right now. So I'll be using that, and we'll get that set up and clarified soon. I think this might be a video. I'm not sure. But if it's the video I think it's going to be, it's quite a doozy. Going back to the whole, again, LGBTQZ and everything in between, now we got this story here. Teacher decides second grade boy is trans because he won't use boy's bathroom. Turns out he has gas. Or turns out he needed to fart. Teacher decides second grade boy is trans because he won't use boy's bathroom. Turns out he needed to fart. An Oregon teacher pushed a second grade boy to, quote, come out as transgender after noticing that he wasn't using the boys' restroom at school, as parents have alleged in a lawsuit. from May 10th, 2019 here. The parents sued the district for nearly $1 million in damages, accusing the school of false imprisonment, negligence, and the intentional infliction of emotional distress. The Statesman Journal reported the lawsuit was filed in Marion County. Who cares? The names of the teacher and the family have not yet been made public. But according to the lawsuit, in April 2018, the teacher at Nellie Moore Elementary School became concerned that the 8-year-old was using the staff restroom. Assuming he must secretly identify as female, she allegedly developed a lesson plan, quote, in an effort to promote him becoming transgender. In reality, the boy and his parents had arranged for him to use the staff restroom because he had a digestion-related medical condition. He needed to fart. Yet on at least 3 occasions, the teacher kept the boy during recess and showed him videos and books with the message that the indoctrination, with the message that it's acceptable to become transgender, the lawsuit said. Among other materials, she allegedly required him to watch episodes of the reality TV show I Am Jazz and read the I Am Jazz children's book, both of which star transgender teenager Jazz Jennings. At the end of the school week, the teacher allegedly told the boy to take the books home and share them with his family. Only then did his parents learn about the lessons. Parents out there that are listening right now, what would you do if this happened with your child? And has anything crazy, creepy happen like this with your kids in public school? Let us know. If they ever brought anything home and you're like, what? What are they trying to teach us? Or maybe you found out that the school was hiding things from you. I don't know. They were extremely shocked to find out that she would expose their son to various sexual concepts, such as the difference between male and female body parts, the family's attorney says. The parents then filed a complaint with the school. In a disciplinary letter to the teacher, administrators said evidence was found that she had removed the student from regular activities and shared potentially controversial materials with him without informing his parents. According to the parents, the school was dismissive of their concerns, saying if this happened in Portland, it would not be a big deal. Okay. The lawsuit said that the teacher's actions caused lasting damage to the boy. He began avoiding feminine toys and games for fear of turning into a girl and became more depressed, aggressive, and isolated, according to the lawsuit, which added that he had started counseling. He has also become afraid of attending his current school, seeing the teacher, and using the boy's bathroom. At the same time, the parents have struggled with anxiety, stress, and depression, according to the lawsuit. They were said to fear their son will have gender identity issues now. The parents asked for $79,999 for current and future counseling, medication, doctor's appointments, and therapy, and $920,000 in non-economic damages. Some experts have warned that with the rise of woke culture, parents, educators, and others have become too eager to support children's claims to be transgender. However, LGBT activists have tended to reject such claims as backwards, often denouncing those who question the rights movements as bigots, of course. We're all bigots if you disagree. Seems to be the thought process there, right? If you disagree, you're a bigot. Another story, May 10th, 2019. Thought this was really cool. Massive superstation radio signal carrying message of Jesus Christ to blanket North Korea. You guys heard about this? It's crazy, huh? CBN. Communist North Korea is about to get hit with a massive new radio signal carrying the message of Christ's love like never before. It's an AM station, 250,000 watts, which will clearly cover North Korea, said Ed Cannon, president of Far East Broadcasting Company, also known as FEBC. For over 75 years, FEBC has been using radio signals to send the message of Jesus Christ around the world. Cannon says this new superstation will be erected close to the border of North and South Korea. We've secured a location on the western coast of South Korea, just a few miles south of the demilitarized zone, Cannon told CBN News. It's a perfect location because the signal goes across the ocean for a few miles and then goes right into North Korea. FEBC's president says a radio signal will launch in a few months and will carry gospel programs produced from neighboring South Korea. Cool, huh? That's pretty cool. Got to get the message out, especially now. Now more than ever. This generation now really needs it. It's so crazy, the message that Christ stood for, the message that he preached. It's all, kindness, generosity, understanding, all these great qualities, yet he's so revered by this beast system. I know it should come as no surprise, but Now this right here is really intense. I want to share this with you guys. Check this out. Okay, check this out. This is a good argument for the right to bear arms. I'll just say that. But wait till you see what happened. Let me get it primed up here for you. It's only a few seconds, 30 seconds, but check this out, man. This is a security camera this guy has in his home, and just watch. The only person that was injured was the homeowner. He was hit in the arm, and that's it. Everybody else survived. Let's read a little bit here. Kentucky Sheriff's Office has released video of a home invasion where the homeowner and one of the intruders exchanged gunfire. Warren County deputies responded to a home on Louisville Road Wednesday night after receiving a call about shots fired. When they arrived, they found the homeowner had a gunshot wound to his right hand. His hand. Let's see. So I guess according to this, they haven't caught the guys yet. But I just wanted to share that with you, man. I mean, I've always been big into that, into, of course, the right to own guns and owning guns. I've owned them many times throughout the years. Had several of them stolen when I was out in Central America. That's another story altogether. But it's important, I mean, unfortunately, this world isn't puppy dogs and ice cream, and not everybody's a nice person, at least a truly good human being. There are monsters among us in all different colors, by the way. I saw a few weeks ago, people were making an issue of some of the news stories had black criminals. I don't sit here and try to, pick which ones have this or which ones have that. I just show you the stories I find. And there's plenty of stories I show you where white people are being, idiots, morons, violent. I mean, brown people, they're all in there, right? There's different elements, or there's different types of people all around the world. It doesn't matter their shape or color or whatever. Some are cool, and some are D-bags, and some are psychopaths, and we all live together, right? In a big old melting pot. So not everybody's going to be a sweet pea, Not everyone's puppy dogs and ice cream. There's people carrying some massive demonic energy out there and doing some really bad things. Good news. I find this to be good news. Again, it just goes to show you that the young ones, what do they call them? The Generation Z, I guess, the ones under millennials, but right there on the cusp of the those millennials and then the new generation coming up, I think we're seeing some positive news like this. Colorado students walk out as school shooting vigil turns political. Let's just scroll this down a little bit and read. A vigil held Wednesday to recognize the victims and heroes of the... Oop. I told you, man, stupid Bing. Very choppy. It's not the computer. Other websites seems to have been all right. Or other search engines. I just need to make it permanent and get off of Bing. Look at this. Come on. Oi, what's this? All right. Come on, man. Here we go. A vigil held Wednesday evening to recognize the victims and heroes of the shooting earlier this week at Colorado High School turned into a political protest after some students in attendance expressed frustration with the tone and focus of the speeches. According to local news reports, a group of students walked out of the event organized by a local chapter of the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence. After hearing speeches from members of the community, including activists and elected officials like Senator Michael Bennet, whoever, all these people are. Both Bennett and Crow were invited by the Brady campaign to speak at the event, which took place at a nearby high school, and also attended another vigil Wednesday night at a nearby church. They're so quick to politicize this every single time. That's the issue, and I'm so glad the kids are waking up and seeing it for what it is. Speakers at the event, which honored Kendrick Castillo, the 18-year-old who was killed protecting his fellow classmates at the STEM school in Highlands Ranch, also talked about the need to take action in the wake of another tragic school shooting and reform the nation's gun laws. I know our kids already have enough to do. They have a job to do when they come to school. You have a job to do when you come to school. Bennett, the former superintendent of Denver Public Schools, said, their job is not to fix America's broken gun laws. Their job is not, as Kendrick so selflessly did yesterday, to give up their own life to save their classmates' lives or the teachers' lives. That's not their job. You sent me to Washington to speak the truth, so here it is. We are failing. We are failing when this happens over and over and over again and nothing happens. You already have my thoughts and prayers, and you deserve. And okay, I'm getting bored with reading all this. Anyway, on Thursday, Crow spoke with ABC News senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer about the protest, saying he supported the students' demand that they be given a chance to speak. It was a very emotional night, which I completely understand. These are students that had just gone through a horrific tragedy, and it became apparent halfway through the event that they weren't being given an opportunity to speak, Crow said. So they stood up, as they should have, and demanded an opportunity to speak, and I supported that. I stayed late until every student was heard and had their opportunity to tell us how they felt about this issue and just express that emotion. So it was really important that we keep focus on the students. Okay, boring. I'm going through a lot of these for the first time with you guys too. So, sometimes I get bored and I just want to skip through it. I think we kind of get the idea. I want to hear from the students though. Let's see. Students later, let's see here. After a number of speeches, one student in the audience shouted, "Let STEM kids speak," and video from the event from ABC News affiliate KMGH showed students chanting mental health as they left the event and gathered in the parking lot outside the gym. I don't like how choppy this one's running, and I don't care to read the rest of that story. I think we get it though, right? You understand. The kids get it. It should have been all about the hero. It should have been all about that student that laid down his life, for his friends. But instead, they brought in all the politicians and all the activists and everything else so that we could talk more about taking away the guns, right? Because the guns are the problem. Of course, the guns are the problem. This, I never know how to pronounce that. I guess Nexium, I don't know. But this cult, the sex cult that got busted in Hollywood, this story just won't die, man. There's new stuff coming out all the time about this. And here's a new one. Video shows Nexium, I'll just call it, cult leader preaching about sex with kids. Yes. See, this is it's great that this stuff is being exposed. It's not fun to know about. We already know this is happening though, so we need more stories like this. I'm glad this stuff is really starting to be exposed. I didn't choose this story, but I'll tell you about it. There's that kid Desmond, right? The Desmond is amazing. The 11 or 12-year-old cross-dressing kid. He was just given a contract with Converse, right? Like to model the shoes or whatever, maybe be in commercials. I don't know what the deal is, but so, I mean, this is the end of the rainbow. This is the stuff we've talked about for many years. The end of the rainbow is going to be the worst types of perversion, and that'll deal with, especially with kids, right? Stuff like this. So we're seeing this story come out more and more. I see all this stuff come out together. We got this story here. We got Desmond getting his contract with Converse. So in its own way, it's all being normalized, and it's just crazy, man. I feel half the time like I'm sitting on a beach watching the world go by, or something, like a boat. Like I just feel so disconnected from so much of this stuff, sometimes. It's just amazing that so much of it happens the way it does, I mean, I can still get surprised from time to time. Accused cult leader Keith Rainier's teachings to his female followers included discussions of sex with children as young as 12, according to a disturbing video shown Wednesday in his sex trafficking trial. In some parts of the world, the age of consent is 17. In other parts of the world, the age of consent is 12, he wrote in a sermon delivered to members of his women's-only group. The statement, read on tape by co-founder Nancy Salzman, sent a gasp through her students in the Brooklyn federal courtroom, where Rainier is facing charges of robbing a 15-year-old girl. On Tuesday, prosecutors said the alleged victim would go on to become his first sex slave. Rainier also has been accused, though never charged, with robbing girls hundreds of times when she was 12 and 13 years old. A girl hundreds of times. Is the person a child or is the person adult-like? Salzman read to the group, which met once a month with the co-founder they knew as Prefect. The discussion that month centered around how women use abuse and blame to get what they want, former sex slave Sylvie testified. Take a drink here, excuse me. Wet my whistle, as they used to say. Do they still say that? Wet my whistle. Or I knew you since you was knee-high to a grasshopper. The 32-year-old previously testified she'd been part of the group for a decade when she was recruited into a secret master slave society called DOS, which had been pitched as a women's empowerment group, but was secretly headed by Grandmaster Rainier. I think we were all like, whoa, regarding the age of consent being 12. Sylvie told jurors, now it doesn't make sense, but we'd always just agree. In the video, Salzman tells the group abuse is a human construct and that women use false claims of abuse as a ripcord in order to get their own ways. The footage panned around the room to show a pensive-looking Sylvie and more than 20 others, including alleged sex slaves and women Sylvie identified as teenagers. All right, there you go. Hollywood sex slave cult. Busted. It'll be interesting to see, since this story won't die, if they eventually start connecting maybe some A-list type people from Hollywood or even politicians to this stuff, you know? The secrets that guy could tell, I bet, right? That creep that ran that cult. The secrets he could tell. May 7th, 2019. No whites allowed. So sick of those white people, man. Get him out of here. No whites allowed. Southern Baptist Seminary School to hold minorities only job fair. And they just show the, I guess there's not much of a story here. They just show this right here. It's the copy of an email, I guess, for faculty staff who identify as staff of color. Staff identify as staff of color only. All right, well, whatever. No huge surprise. More of this division stuff, right? I mean, I don't see color like that. I know a lot of you don't either. Some of you maybe, but I mean, we see the color. It's obvious, but I mean, I try to connect with the spirit in the person. I try to, you know, I'm an empath type person. I've talked about this in the past, but I try to feel. And it sounds weird, but I try to feel like the Holy Spirit in people when I'm around them or just meet them or talking to them. And I just try to feel what's running that person. Okay. You know what I mean? Like what spirits is this person engaged with? If that makes any sense. That's just the way I kind of feel it. But so, you know, but overall, even the Bible teaches us we're all brothers and sisters in Christ. You know, we shouldn't be looking at our little differences and all that. It doesn't really matter. It's all about, you know, are you connected to Christ? Or you have a relationship with our Heavenly Father? Do you have the Holy Spirit within, you know? But instead, you know, this world wants to, it's like, it's tribalism. It just wants to keep dividing us and separating us. And that way it's easier to turn these smaller groups against each other. Next news story comes to us from New Zealand. May 11th, 2019. I've been talking about this for years. So again, this story is not a surprise here. Exorcism goes mainstream. Churches assemble in Rome to learn best practice. And even that I've talked about. You know, we as followers of Christ, as Christians, if you have accepted Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, we have the 9 manifestations of the Holy Spirit. And one of those has to do with taking demons out, or deliverance ministry. I wouldn't just go out and try to do it. You should probably look into it a little bit, pray about it, everything else. But we have that power. We don't need to go to a priest. You don't need to go to the Catholic Church and get a priest to help you with this kind of stuff. You know, we as followers of Christ, with the 9 manifestations of the Holy Spirit, we have that gift within ourselves. Exorcism is going multi-denominational, where once those competing for the souls of followers would burn each other as heretics and engage in bloody wars, the world's mainstream Christian denominations are now rallying together to battle a resurrected threat. And that's no less than Satan himself. The Roman Catholic Church has, for the first time, opened up its annual exorcism class in Rome. That's interesting. In Rome, to representatives of all major Christian faiths. The Pontifical University of Regina Apostolorum, Apostolorum, is a Vatican-affiliated university in Rome that has been conducting the increasingly popular annual exorcism conventions for Catholic priests for the past 14 years. But now the doors of the 14th Exorcism and Prayer of Liberation course have been thrown open to groups once considered heretical and demon-infested only a few short centuries ago. Now some 250 Catholics, Lutherans, Greek Orthodox, and Protestant priests have assembled to arm themselves with the sword of the Holy Word to battle Satan amid the souls of their parishioners. It is itself a dark art born of a dark age. The Catholic Church, however, insists demonic possession is on the rise. In 2014, it formally recognized the ancient ritual of exorcism under canon law and gave official approval to the formal creation of the International Association of Exorcists. It blames the secularization of society, separation of religion and state, along with the increasing popularity of competing religions, tarot readings, astrology, the internet, and atheism for opening the demonic floodgates. And the best way to fix this, it believes, is to tackle the possessed head on. We are called to fight against the devil with all our might and determination, keynote speaker said. In this enlightened age, the practice sounds odd to many, and that's the problem, exorcists insist. Speaking in lost tongues, vomiting weird objects, unexplained wounds, writhing, shaking, shrieking abuse, supernatural strength. While there's rarely evidence beyond the anecdotal, exorcism practitioners insist their behind-closed-doors experiences are very real. And it's a threat to Pope Francis himself. I can't even say his name without laughing. Really? But still, they have to do some things, I guess, right? They got to try to do some things that seem normal and appropriate, I suppose. And it's a threat Pope Francis himself has been keen to highlight, making regular references to the power of the devil in his sermons. He would know. He is evil. He's not like mist. He's not a diffuse thing. He's a person. I'm convinced that one must never converse with Satan. If you do that, you'll be lost, he said. I can't even read his words. I just don't even... Anyway, it is on the rise, though, folks. You don't need the Pope to tell you that. I've been telling you that for a long time. Others have as well. This is on the rise, right? The broader Catholic Church admits to being dubious about most claims of possession. Its officers publicly state the majority of such claimants are, in fact, mentally ill. Instead of priests, they should be seeking medical attention to address physical health issues. That's probably why the Pope and the Vatican are getting involved here, the Catholic Church. But Pope Francis has recently adopted a more urgent tone. In March, he reportedly told a group of priests that they should not hesitate to refer confession box allegations of possession to an exorcist. All right, there you go. Again, living in topsy-turvy world, or the upside down. On one hand, we know this is a Jesuit infiltrator. Could very well be the false prophet. On the other hand, he is telling a little bit of truth about this. Demonic possession is absolutely on the rise, for sure. This one right here. Any Harley riders out there? Millennials could be a problem for America's most iconic motorcycle brand, Harley Davidson. Our data suggests, oops, oh, it's one of these. The other problem, dinosaur media dying out. They're in a lot of trouble. Even though YouTube's trying to push them on the platform and push a lot of the original creators out, this goes to show you, man, you can't even just read their stories anymore. They all need $1 now. A lot of these, that was Bloomberg Business. Anyway, I think we get it. It was basically just the title I wanted to share with you. Here's one we're going to get into. Some meteorologists warned some of the 5G frequencies could interfere with water vapor signals, meaning less accurate weather forecasts. Wireless radio frequencies being auctioned by the U.S. government for mobile 5G networks could interfere with weather forecasts and make them much less accurate, as the mobile network could cause interference that prevents satellites from detecting concentrations of water vapor in the atmosphere accurately, warn meteorologists. A new global problem. For months, NASA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. That's supposed to be NOAA. They said NASA here. Okay. For months, NOAA and two committees in the U.S. House asked the Federal Communications Commission to delay 5G spectrum auctions. But the FCC has gone ahead with the sales. An auction on April 17th involved two groups of frequencies. Water vapor problem. Information about atmospheric water vapor is plugged into computer models to predict how weather systems will behave. The vapor transmits a faint signal at 23.8 gigahertz frequency. Meteorologists say a 5G station transmitting close to the same frequency could be mistaken for water vapor, and they warn that could make forecasts less accurate. I mean, that's fine, but I'm wondering what are the other potential problems and issues that are here, right? Also, that's a pretty powerful signal if it mimics water vapor, and now meteorologists are having issues with this. Something else for us to consider. It's the first time we've seen a threat to what I'd call the crown jewels of our frequencies, the ones that we absolutely must defend come what may. Stephen English, a meteorologist at the European Center for Medium-Range Weather Forecasts in Reading, UK. Brian Donahan, a weather.com meteorologist, said 5-day hurricane track forecasts are more accurate today than 2-day forecasts 25 years ago. I would hate to see these vast improvements take a major step backward, especially after the active 2017 and 2018 hurricane seasons the U.S. just endured. In March, 3 chairmen of U.S. House Appropriations Subcommittees sent a letter to FCC chairman asking him to delay an auction that month. Without this data, the nation's forecasting capacity would be reduced to the accuracy of the forecast produced in the 1970s, the Democratic congressman wrote. For example, the forecast for Superstorm Sandy would have predicted landfall in Maine 24 hours later than actual landfall occurred in New Jersey, roughly 300 miles away. This would have further imperiled millions of Americans. All right. A similar request was made by Texas Democrat and Frank Lewis, an Oklahoma Republican. Given the frequency spectrum being considered and at the FCC's suggested noise limits, there is the potential for signal interference with Earth observation sensors for weather and climate forecasting, which operate at adjacent spectrum frequencies. This is with 5G. We are therefore asking you to delay the auction of 5G spectra muntal. NOAA, NASA, and DoD have been adequately consulted and their concerns have been addressed. Trump administration has been a proponent of rolling out 5G networks faster. At a White House event on April 12th, President Donald Trump said 5G networks will, quote, transform the way Americans work, learn, communicate, and travel. 5G networks will create astonishing and really thrilling opportunities for our people. 5G networks are expected to be at least 100 times faster than the current 4G networks, cut delays, and allow for innovate, blah, 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 right? We'll see. We'll see. We did a story a few weeks ago about that school. It's like a middle school where like 5 kids in the last, year came down with cancer right after they put a 5G tower up next to the school. Do you guys remember that one? 4 or 5 kids got cancer. I think it was just a year. Maybe it was less amount of time. But it all happened after they put up the huge 5G tower right next to the middle school. Stuff like this, man. See, I see stuff like this, and this is why I'm saying we'll probably do a chat show sometime in the next few weeks, just about how things are really speeding up. I've covered this subject. Y'all already know kind of where I'm at with this. I mean, eventually this will be shifted over to those who won't accept the mark. That's what we're seeing with all of this, like news like this and all this censorship and everything else. I mean, it's all moving that way. Like now you can literally see it happening, right? This is a prophecy from a book that's thousands of years old, but now you can actually start seeing our society moving away to where, we could be forced to, we'll be forced to where we can't buy, sell, or trade without this mark or this chip. And they've talked plenty about the mark and the chip. And so here we go now. MasterCard to vote over financially blacklisting conservatives. I mean, look, guys. You see, this is it. I mean, this is a big part of it. I see this as the Antichrist spirit at work. Activists have forced MasterCard to call a vote at its upcoming June shareholder meeting that could result in the credit company refusing service to conservatives. A plan promoted by liberal activist groups, some of us called for MasterCard to add a human rights committee to prevent right-wing individuals and groups from being able to access money donated to them from supporters via MasterCard. Other companies have done this too. PayPal's been doing stuff like this, been getting rid of people. Gosh, there's another one. Anyway, there's a few of them. You guys can look this up, but there's already companies out. Well, I showed you Godlike Productions. I showed you the video of the guy behind Godlike Productions, and they did it to his PayPal. They removed his as well, saying he wasn't. What's the word I'm looking for? He wasn't adhering to the terms of service or whatever it is they said. So I'm just saying that that's already out there. This is a spirit at work, moving through people. The rise of this censorship right now only focused on primarily what they call the alt-right, which is basically Republicans and conservatives. And, how long until that, until Christians are fully included in that? How long? BuzzFeed. But BuzzFeed reported some of us is fighting against people and groups it deems hateful by trying to get them financially black. And they're hateful because they don't agree with them. That's the other side. Deems hateful, trying to get them financially blacklisted on social media and payment platforms such as Facebook, Google, Twitter, Patreon. That's it. Patreon's been doing it too to some people. And PayPal. Their goal is to choke off your donations. Right? It is nasty. This is nastiness, man. And that's always been the problem with, if you look into the false left-right paradigm or whatever, but if you look into the Republicans, they're right. Biggest issues with these guys is that a lot of them, I believe, that are Christians are more the religious type of Christians, and they're more like, God will take care of it, and I'm going to be a nice guy, and God bless you. Meanwhile, on the other side, they're spitting in your face, beating up your children, whatever they want to do. Because there's no morals over there. I mean, this is you can call it whatever. The communist takeover of America, Antichrist spirit, the tares, so the tares among us, the wheat and the tares. These people aren't operating on any kind of a moral scale, all right? They're going to do whatever it takes to win. Spreading hate, they say, involves spending money. Eoin Dubsky of Some of Us told BuzzFeed News, whether it's paying for online advertising or organizing violent rallies, the supremacist groups need financial. See, and is that even the supremacist groups? They always try to go with the extremes. Is that even really that big of an issue right now? I know there's some of them out there, but it's like, aren't they just mainly just a bunch of just small kook groups, right? I mean, Antifa does more violence in front of cameras than any of these fringe groups, these supremacist groups or anything, right? I'm constantly seeing Antifa in the news doing something violent, attacking people. But we're in topsy-turvy, upside-down world, so, they don't get called out. They're protected. It's another protected group there. Antifa's protected by the beast system. BuzzFeed said it received documents indicating MasterCard's board and executives strongly oppose the creation of a human rights committee to determine service, but shareholders will be given the chance to vote on June 25th. According to BuzzFeed, MasterCard declined to comment, but referred it to materials for shareholders that said, MasterCard is committed to treating all people fairly and with dignity, and our interest in human rights extends to all areas in which our business is involved and where we have particular expertise, whatever that means. Anyway, we'll see. The fact of the matter is that just the fact that that's out there, that this exists, this is the way some people are playing. And we see this, I believe, spirit really on the move right here. Just getting very nasty, very hateful, very evil, isn't it? These are the devil's little minions. The devil's little minions at work. Speaking of that, here's another story that connects to that as well. Poynter Institute wants 515 outlets blacklisted, including Breitbart News. I guess is that the person? Poynter? Yeah, I guess that's her. Ugh. Poynter Institute claims on its About page that it champions freedom of expression, and yet on another page, Poynter published a list of 515 media sites, including Breitbart News, that it wants blacklisted and shut down. Poynter calls this list an index of unreliable news sites and is openly calling for advertisers, see, they're going after your money. It's a spirit, man. This nasty spirit is openly calling for advertisers to stop sponsoring these sites, pull their sponsorship, to put these sites out of business. If that's not a blacklist, tell me what is, emphasis added. Advertisers don't want to support publishers that might tar their brand with hate speech, falsehoods, or some kind of political messages. But too often they have little choice in the matter. Most ad tech dashboards make it hard for businesses to prevent their ads from appearing on and funding disreputable sites. Marketers can create blacklists, but many of those lists have been out of date or incomplete. Aside from journalists, researchers, and news consumers, we hope that the UN or UN News Index will be useful. Yeah, the UN News Index will be useful for advertisers that want to stop funding misinformation. And that's from this Pointer group, I guess, says that. Pointer Institute says that. This is straight up McCarthyism. This is nothing less than the return of 1950s blacklisting crusade against those who hold inappropriate, unacceptable, and unapproved opinions. And what's more, the lion's share of the list cites a single source, Open Sources, a list curated by a single assistant professor from Merrimack College, Melissa Zimbers, pictured. So this broad right here decides which 515 sites are going to be blacklisted for hate speech. Get out of here. And what's more, the lion's share, blah, 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 is a list curated by that Melissa Zimbers. She's the author of academic papers such as Watching Our Weights, The Consequences and Contradictions of Televising Fatness in the Obesity Epidemic, and Having It Both Ways, 2.5 Men, Entourage, and the Televising of Juvenile Post-Feminist Masculinity. What is Zimbar's methodology? Can't say exactly, as the Open Source's official site is totally blank. About 2 years ago, she gave an interview where she said that one of her criteria for blacklisting a site is, quote, hate. That is, she still believes the far-left SPLC is a credible organization whose, quote, hate labels should get you kicked out of public discourse. And now the 1950s blacklist is returned with a vengeance because the establishment media are fighting for advertising dollars. We talked about that earlier. And have lost their moral authority and ability to influence public opinion due to outlets like this one, Breitbart, and Media Research Center, Pajamas Media, and a whole bunch of other ones. Just as the blacklisters did during the McCarthy era, they are trying to silence us by targeting our advertising sponsors. Sure, just as some of those people targeted in the 1950s were actual communists looking to do our country harm, there are some legitimate bad faith players on Pointer's blacklist. But here's where Pointer's blacklist gets especially sinister. There's no one on Pointer's list of unreliable news outlets responsible for spreading the biggest, most irresponsible, and dangerous lies of the last half decade. Lies that have caused race riots and destroyed innocent lives. In other words, the outlets Pointer does not want blacklisted are every bit as revealing as those Pointer does want blacklisted. There's simply no question that for over 5 years, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, NPR, ABC, you know the ones, all of them, have relentlessly and deliberately misled the American people on the biggest stories of the day. And here's some examples. Trayvon Martin hoax, Hands Up, Don't Shoot hoax, Donald Trump can't win, the Russia collusion hoax, Brett Kavanaugh, and the Covington boys hoax. And yet, every outlet I listed above that are part of Pointer's blacklist either got these stories 100% correct, as Breitbart News did, or was at least skeptical of them. But we are the ones, these so-called champions of free expression, are openly calling. Oh, yeah, it's just more editorial stuff. Anyway, we get the point. All right, we got it. We got it. Really is 1984, man. Like 1984. George Orwell. This is some pretty wild footage, I'm warning you, okay? So, blew me away. Student 19 falls to his death while making a phone call on the edge of an 18-story rooftop after the wall suddenly crumbles under his feet. First off, this is a Darwin Award. You know, I mean, this is, have you ever heard of the Darwin Awards? It's when people make fatal mistakes a lot of the time, or just really dumb mistakes, and they pay the price. And this is definitely a Darwin Award. So I watched this thing over and over again, and it wasn't, you know, they don't show you anything gross or anything. It's nothing like that, but it just blows me away when I see stuff like this, because you're watching the last few seconds of this person's life, like, something they don't when you start the video, you know that in a few seconds they're done. It's crazy. And just here, I'll just play this. If you may not want to, it doesn't really show, just shows him kind of slip. That's it. But standing on the edge of a building, this guy was just filming it from across the way. That was it. So you don't really see much. Just a few seconds. Yeah, I just showed him kind of begin to fall, but anyway. Crazy. It's in China. A 19-year-old student in China has fallen to his death from a roof of a high-rise building after the wall suddenly collapsed under him. Who would do that, though? I mean, I don't know. I guess you could think it's kind of cool looking down over the edge. I don't know. I remember when we were little and we went camping in Colorado when I was a kid. Just being on top of some of those big mountains, and you could stand right there next to the edge and just look down. It was just nothing but just air, for a long time. That always scared me. This guy's just chilling. Anyway, that's that. Here he goes. Last phone call right there. Another excellent example. This is the stuff that I've complained about all throughout the years, especially being a film student myself, appreciating the art of filmmaking. But it gets so tiresome. I mean, obviously, so many of these movies are coming from a very far left place. Usually there's agenda all over these things. And you can watch some of these movies and just, I've said this in the past, it's like you can almost just picture these producers shaking their finger at you so you learn your lesson. And here's an example of that. The movie Green Book. Green Book producer says film is aimed at older white audiences. This, again, goes to show you this is more of that divisive stuff. Constantly bringing up the 50s, bringing up racism, bringing up movies about slavery, always this stuff, always. How about a movie where it's just a bunch of people from different races that all get along and work towards a common goal? I guess they try that too because everything's multicultural now as well. But anyway, one of the producers behind the Oscar-winning but divisive Green Book defended the film from critics over how they told the story, arguing that it was actually aimed towards an older white audience. The audience for that kind of movie is largely older and largely white, said Jonathan King, president of narrative film and television at Participant Media. If you believe that older white people don't need to be told to be less racist anymore because that's an issue from the past, look around because they do. King was speaking on a panel about diversity and inclusion during the Milken Globin conference in Beverly Hills, California on Monday. Occasionally, you need to make a movie that is directed at older white people, he added. Although it won Best Picture at this year's Oscars, Green Book drew criticism mainly for telling a story about an African-American through the perspective of a white person. In the film, classical pianist is driven through the Jim Crow-era South by his white chauffeur. Spike Lee, whose Black Klansman lost to Peter Farrelly's film for Best Picture, made headlines for being visibly upset about the film getting the honor. Asked about his reaction to the Green Book win, Lee said, "I thought it was outside at the Garden, and the ref made a bad call." That's funny because the Farrelly brothers, those are the guys known for making some of the most foul and politically incorrect films of the, I guess, the late 90s and into the early 2000s. Something About Mary, Dumb and Dumber, just to name a few. I guess now he's winning Best Picture. All right. For his propaganda. Are we going to get criticism because the director happens to be a white guy? ? Maybe, King continued. No director would represent the lives and lived experiences of those two main characters because they were coming from completely different points. Whatever. I'm getting bored with the article, but we get the point. This is what they do. We got to teach those old white audiences, okay? Shaking their finger at you. You got to teach those old dried up white people. Teach them a lesson. It's just a weird one. Texas officials investigating attack on dozens of beehives. Police in Texas are investigating after an arsonist destroyed dozens of beehives, killing hundreds of thousands of bees. The Brazoria County Crime Stopper said in a press release Monday that the sheriff's office in the area south of Houston was offering a reward of $5,000 for information leading to the capture of the suspect. No reported witnesses have come forward. It's not an easy case. Any case of this nature, there are no witnesses. It's a relatively rural area. It's a matter of getting out and beating bushes, county sheriff's spokesman said. The fires were discovered Saturday morning and extinguished by a sheriff's deputy, according to the Crime Stoppers press release. But about 500,000 bees had already been killed. A reward of up to $5,000 is being offered, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Every colony that we lose is a major catastrophe to the environment, Stephen Brackman said. When they go and they set them on fire, then they've destroyed everything, he continued. That goes past vandalism. That is just basically criminal. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting crime. Who would do this and why? Why the hatred towards bees? What did the bees ever do to you? Check this out. I'm going to show you a couple of things here. This is from January 11th. 111. It's from 111, 2019. Mecca's Grand Mosque, the world's holiest Muslim site, is under attack by locusts. Holiest site in Islam, Grand Mosque, Saudi Arabia. A lot of stories about Saudi Arabia this week. Sacred city of Mecca has been bombarded by a swarm of insects, and local authorities are struggling to clean up the mess. Anyway, so that was a lead-in to this story right here. That was from 111, January 11th. And now, once again, May 1st, 2019. Swarm of locusts filmed invading Saudi Arabian city. Najran, Saudi Arabia, played host to an invasion of nightmarish proportions when millions of swarming locusts, and you know what I'm thinking, the locusts from the pit. Not that these are them, but this is symbolic, a message, I wonder. When millions of swarming locusts descended over the weekend, video footage shot by locals shows the massive plague of insects darkening the skies as they make their way to their next destination of destruction. Several videos shared online since Sunday shows the scale of the infestation, which has taken over countries on either side of the Red Sea. Imagine these things being bigger, a little bit weirder looking, and have scorpion tails, stinging people. Wow. Here, you can hear them fluttering. Crazy, huh? Anyway, I just thought it was interesting that they're back. We've got another story, 5 months to the day or so? 5 months, all right. Huge story, and this one's a bit of a mystery itself. Good luck finding a lot of mainstream news coverage on this story right here, how Google lost $70 billion. Google loses $70 billion. This is all from YouTube. And this is from Markets Insider. This is our Business Insider. This is one of the only big mainstream sources online I could find that even covered the $70 billion loss from YouTube, because when the story came out, the real loss, and they even admitted it in some of the videos I'd seen, where it came from them jacking with the algorithm as much as they have and getting rid of all the conspiracy videos, or so many conspiracy videos. Maybe that's probably what's happening. Again, I told you, they shadow ban. They get so many little tricks, that they can use in our channels, and they do. Or they'll just demonetize you or just take your channel down. It's crazy, man. But so I literally pray about my channel every day, and hope you guys pray my work stays safe and everything as well. And it really matters. It does. You've got to in times like this, it seems. But this is one of the only big stories I could find about it right here. And they won't even talk about the real issues. Google lost $70 billion off its market cap after a nasty combination of slowing ad traffic and a drop in sales per click. But I don't see them in here talking anything about, yeah. And also that makes me think, this Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube or whatever. I mean, who loses $70 billion and doesn't get fired? And again, the scariest part of it is that's why, and I've been saying this for a few years as well, once the censorship really started, sometimes I wonder if they're just kind of getting everything ready for the event, like that way, once the event happens and the Antichrist is revealed and everything else, that it'll be a lot easier to shut down any dissenting voices. Most of them by then will probably have been censored or taken off anyway, or, whatever, right? But sometimes I feel like all this stuff was done by design, and that's even before this story came out. And maybe that's how a woman can lose $70 billion being the CEO of a company. She lose $70 billion and not get fired. Like she was doing a video, or she's doing an interview just a couple days later, just cool as ice, barely even covering any of this kind of stuff. So it makes me wonder, Let me see. I may have found another. We'll see. I tried to. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay, I did find this on, of course, on Prison Planet. All right. But he just linked up to a video from Timcast. So there you go. It looks like he's got a CNBC story up. Anyway, so here you go. YouTube gets woke, goes broke, loses $70 billion. If you're interested, try to find some stories on that where they admit, it had to do with the taking down conspiracy videos and all that, and just see what you can find. This was a weird one. Like I said, this is a big deal. A company loses $70 billion. And, well, of course, I was on freaking Google at the time when I was trying to find the story. So maybe they've got it buried for a reason as well. But anyway, I thought that was just very interesting. Company loses $70 billion, screwing over so many original creators. And this is just really just one of those tragic kind of news stories. And, I don't always share the news stuff. You'd be surprised how much stuff I don't share week to week. I leave out some of the real grisly stuff. Sometimes I find some just really nasty stuff out there as far as crimes and all that. There's really no point in sharing it. So anyway, but some of these are important, I think. Like this one right here, this kid was being an idiot, and here's what happens. This is, I thought if I close my eyes, I will die. Father left in coma after accident that killed woman 21 who was playing chicken with traffic on Snapchat video speaks out. The father who's in a coma, let's just go here. The father who was left in a coma after the car he was in was hit by a young woman playing chicken with oncoming traffic while filming it on Snapchat has spoken out. Dennis Sells was in the passenger seat when a car driven by a 21-year-old Queensland woman plowed into him in the early morning of April 28th. Mr. Sells suffered a fractured neck, fractured lower spine, punctured diaphragm, broken ribs, and a damaged esophagus, and spent days in an induced coma. Here's the girl. That's her on the video. Moments before the crash, I actually saw the video. Mr. Sills, who is now back at home, told 7 News that he's still feeling the effects of the crash. I can hardly move now. I couldn't stand up. Now, if you wanted me to stand up, I'm in pain as we speak, he said. He also spoke about his hospital ordeal and his fears that he would die. There were times there that I couldn't close my eyes because I saw some evil things, and I thought if I close my eyes, I will die. That's weird. Police have been investigating reports that the young women may have been playing chicken with other drivers after Snapchat footage emerged showing Miss McNeil in the lead up to the accident. She can be seen driving her car while driving from a tin can and also appearing to swerve into the path of oncoming traffic. Police are also looking into whether alcohol played a role in the crash. Mr. Sells has seen the footage, which shows the final moments of Miss McNeil's life, and said it made him sick, and his heart bleeds for the young woman driver's family. But he is angry with the 2 female passengers in Miss McNeil's car, Fada Hunter and Hazel Wildman, and wants to see them punished. Those are those 2. There's 2 people that there that could have stopped it. The investigation into the role the two women played in the accident is ongoing. The two ladies were slammed by Shania McNeil's former boyfriend, Joel Bentley, after the pair shared a picture of themselves in the hospital shortly after the death of their friend. That's the girl that passed. It's disgraceful if your friends just die in the hospital. Who the hell takes a photo? He told the Daily Telegraph. She had to be cut out of the car. It's not the time to be taking selfies and posting them all over social media. That's what the kids do these days, though. There she is. Playing chicken on Snapchat. Hey, look, guys, we're playing chicken live. Eesh. The things people will do for views, Back to Saudi Arabia. I told you there's some Saudi Arabia news this week. Same country that's seeing plagues of locusts. Saudi Arabia beheading so many prisoners it will need more executioners as kingdom tipped to set new slaughter record. Wow. The ruthless Saudi government is beheading so many people it needs to recruit a deadly new squad of sword-wielding executioners. The news comes after it slaughtered 37 people in one bloody day last week and is now tipped to kill a record number of its citizens in 2019. The Sharia law-run state. And see, that's what they want for the world. I think that's going to be a big part of this Antichrist system, the fully revealed beast system. They want that. It'll be something similar to Sharia law. The Sharia law-run state has advertised, and there'll be beheadings, right? And there'll be beheadings. State has advertised for 8 new executioners to handle the projected rise in brutal public beheadings. No special qualifications are needed for the job that involves executing a judgment of death and performing amputations on those convicted of lesser offenses. The macabre job advert was reportedly posted on the country's civil service jobs portal. Saudi Arabia has one of the world's highest rates of execution. Suspects convicted of terrorism, homicide, rape, armed robbery, and drug trafficking face the death penalty. The government has carried out nearly 600 executions since the start of 2014, more than a third of them in drug cases. More than 140 people were put to death in the kingdom last year. Convicts are usually beheaded using a huge curved sword. Public beheadings will typically take place around 9 a.m. when the convicted person is walked into a square and made to kneel in front of the executioner. The executioner uses a sword known as a sultan to remove the condemned person's head from his or her body at the neck. Statisticians have now projected more than 170 will be put to the sword this year, a record for modern times. So it's increasing. Okay. Rights groups began documenting execution numbers in the early 2000s, and the figures have been trending upwards. Last Tuesday, one prisoner was crucified, and another had his head impaled on a spike during dozens of sickening executions held over one day in the ruthless kingdom. Those killed during the beheading bloodbath had all been convicted of terrorism offenses in the hardline desert country. The killings were carried out in the Muslim holy cities of Mecca and Medina. Saudi authorities later revealed one person was crucified after his execution, a punishment reserved for what are deemed very serious offenses. It also publicly placed the executed body and severed head of a convicted Sunni extremist on a spike as a warning to others. Politicians said the men were charged with adopting terrorist extremist ideology, forming terrorist cells, and harming the, quote, peace and security of society. One of the men executed was just 16 at the time of his arrest. Those executed had been involved in attacking a base and killing a number of security officers. Amnesty International said they were convicted after sham trials that relied on confessions extracted through torture. That knife. Oof. It marked the largest number of executions in a single day in Saudi Arabia since January 2nd, 2016, when the kingdom executed 47 people. Saudi Arabia. Beheadings and locusts. Hello. Well, hello, Chubbs. Come on over. Why don't you say something to the people? Huh? All right. Be that way. You may have heard about this. Another example of hi, pal. You want to say hi? Huh? Huh? Sorry, I got a little Chubbs break going here. He's right up here in my face, right in front of the mic. Good boy, get down. Yeah. So right here, these spells from Hollywood. The power of this kind of programming. Teen suicide rate spiked after debut of Netflix show 13 Reasons Why. The rate of suicide among U.S. boys ages 10 to 17 surged in the month after the Netflix show 13 Reasons Why premiered in March 2017, according to a new study. Excuse me. Researchers at a nationwide children's hospital measured monthly and annual rates of suicide, reported to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention from 2013 through 2017. All right. I think we get the point. Let's see here. The month immediately following the release of the show had a suicide rate of 0.57 per 100,000, whatever, a bunch of numbers. Numbers confuse me sometimes. The highest rate of the 5-year study period in this age group. The 9 months after the release saw an extra 195 deaths by suicide in this age group than would have otherwise been expected from seasonal patterns alone. The increase was primarily driven by boys, whose rate of suicide went up 28.9% in the month after the premiere of the show. Rates remained stable for girls during the same month, even though a teen girl is the show's main character. 13 Reasons Why is based on best-selling author Jay Asher's 2007 young adult book of the same title. The series follows the fictional story of a teenage girl who leaves behind 13 mysterious auto recordings on cassette tapes after killing herself. She addresses each recording to a person who she says played a role in the decision to end her life. Netflix said in a statement Tuesday, "This is a critically important topic, and we have worked hard to ensure that we handle this sensitive issue responsibly." Suicide is the third leading cause of death for American youth between the ages of 10 and 24, and it results in approximately 4,600 lives lost each year. All right. It's a little video we get to watch together. I just think it's funny. And then I sometimes think this is just, hey, we're thinking out loud here, but there's plenty of evidence to show that Obama, at the very least, has an antichrist spirit, or could very much potentially be the antichrist waiting in the wings to take over everything. If you're new around here and you think I sound retarded, please look into that yourself. Honestly, there's plenty of research on that, plenty of interesting things that connect with him, but you have to have those spiritual eyes to see. So it's a possibility. Well, I mean, if it's real, remember that one video of Joe Biden's eyes being completely black? A lot of people, even the mainstream, are like, what happened to this guy's eyes? And they're all completely blacked out, as if he was full on possessed, sitting. It was during something taking place at the House or the Senate. I remember that story. It's from a few years back. But I'm just saying, like, if Obama really is the Antichrist, and if Biden knows it, which I'm assuming he probably would, or I don't know how this works. Okay, with the Antichrist being on the earth, maybe all these people are under a spell, for all I know. But if that's the case, maybe that's why he just doesn't seem to be taking this very seriously. I don't know, because right here he seems like he's pretty drunk. Check this out. This is a little montage. Old man Joe slurring his way through his first speech as a presidential candidate. This is a montage. It's pretty funny. Hey, and it's 1 minute and 11 seconds long. All right, 11. All right, let's check this out.
Rich Fitzgerald, the county executive, Allegheny County executive, being here, and all my time in public life, once I've gotten involved, the country wasn't built by Wall Street bankers, CEOs, and hedge fund managers. If the enterprise hit hard times, everybody took a hit. Union workers, the UAW took incredible cuts in their future and their pensions and the less to get GM working. They also got that last year and try to cut wages or freeze wages for their people. Right today, the same is happening in big hospital systems. I think we have to rethink how we define what constitutes a successful economy. Folks in America don't think their children are going to have the same standard of living they had. How can a person dignity be maintained? Why they do that? It means investing much more in medical research to conquer devastating diseases like cancer and addiction and Alzheimer's. So God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. County executive, Allegheny County executive, being here, and all my time in public life, once I've gotten involved, the country wasn't built by Wall Street bankers, CEOs, and hedge fund managers. If the enterprise hit hard times, everybody took a hit. Union workers, the UAW, took incredible cuts in their future and their pensions.
My favorite. If the enterprise hit hard times, everybody took a hit. That's my favorite one. If the enterprise hit hard times, everybody took a hit. I have no idea what he's talking about, but it's all a circus anyway, isn't it? With these jokers. It's a circus. Bit of a circus. What do you guys think? You think that anybody can beat Trump the next? Is Trump going to get to second term? Are we even going to be here to see it? Will there still be an Earth? Who knows? This is big news too, really. Spall's vampire facial tied to 2 HIV cases. I just did a video a while back about people ingesting blood, and I think I threw one of these stories in there too. But now about these the popular vampire facial. But now we got this. Health officials are investigating 2 cases of human immunodeficiency virus among clients who received injection-related procedures, including, quote, vampire facials. The New Mexico Department of Health announced Monday that laboratory tests indicated the 2 clients were infected with the same virus, increasing the likelihood that the infections might have resulted from a procedure at the spa. Man, that's scary. Now the health department is offering free and confidential testing. Okay, still. Ugh. Somebody went and got their vampire facial, right? And now they got that HIV. And that is, at the very least, super unfortunate. This one's really interesting too, right here. Just right in our face, man. And I saw this story a few weeks ago when it first came out, but I've been kind of sitting on it. But Number of the Beast Pope pledges. We knew he pledged 500,000 to 75,000 migrants. And just that action alone goes to show you they don't want borders anymore. This is about the New World Order. It's about no more borders, right? Everything being connected as one. But it turns out it's 6.66 per migrant, $6.60 per migrant. And we know that's not an eerie coincidence, they say here. It's definitely lesser magic. But let's read on here. The money specifically meant to aid the 75,000 migrants who arrived in Mexico in 2018 as part of 6 caravans. While the money will be spread among various projects and congregations, one can't help but notice the math. 500,000 divided by 75,000 migrants derives the number 6.66 or $6.66, the number of the beast. So we keep getting things like this happen. This isn't the first time. You know, I've detailed lots of these bizarre things happening as well. And I believe there's signs. You know, I don't just laugh this stuff off. I do believe these are signs that God communicates to us in all kinds of ways and wants his people to know what time it is. Speaking of which, again, back to what time it is. This is May 12th, 2019. Spiritual war rages on. Becomes much more obvious, too. Powerful witches formed a new liberal women's group, Supermajority, with help of Coven, former Hillary Clinton staffer. Not surprised. Jess Morales Roquetto, the former Hillary Clinton presidential campaign staffer with the title of Director of Digital Organizing, wrote on Twitter Monday that she is the originator of the new liberal women's group Supermajority that debuted Monday morning. Roquetto described the women who rallied to her idea and worked to make it a reality as, quote, powerful witches. And I've told y'all, I made videos on this. Even millennials are becoming witches. That all this is becoming more mainstream, and we'll be getting more stories like this. And of course we are. They're not hiding. It's Powerful witches who came together and called in the coven. Rocketo has been joined by other Hillary activists like campaign speechwriter Lauren Patterson and liberal women activists. All right. When a group of really powerful witches gets together, the coven gets called in. Women re-roll so hard with our volunteering, leaving big jobs to come build it. We got at Tay said yes when she should have said no. I don't know what that means. There you go. It's the super majority. See what their video is.
Women are the majority of Americans. Women are the majority of Americans.
We are the majority of voters. We are the majority of grassroots volunteers and donors.
Our government should look like us.
Nuestro gobierno debería de parecerse a nosotras. The only way we can make that happen is by standing shoulder to shoulder
with women who believe this too.
Maybe you've fought for change for decades.
Demanding equality in your home, in your workplace, from your government.
Maybe you're just getting started.
Let's work together. Supermajority is a new organization for women who want to build our collective power and use it to change this country for good. Because one of us can be dismissed.
Two of us can be ignored. But together,
We aren't just the majority.
We are a supermajority, and we are unstoppable.
Ugh. Ugh. I'm all for, women being strong and everything, but just not in the way these people frame it. Again, this is all, lefty type stuff, the far left. Right? Ugh. UGH. That's all I can say. Ugh. Ugh. Or blah. BLEECH. Blah. Blah. All right. I'm done with this one. Powerful witches. Whatever. More, another example of the power of the movie, the power of the program. Avengers Endgame leaves women hospitalized for crying too much. I got a video, I'm not sure what to title it, but it might be weird subliminal or something found in Avengers Endgame or whatever, but I found something with numbers in Endgame that's going to blow your mind, I think. It blew mine. But I'm putting together that one too. As reported by the news, 21-year-old, I don't know how to say his name, from Ningbo, China, was rushed to the hospital after she started showing signs of hyperventilation while watching the film. The report cites an emergency doctor explaining the situation. We thought that her crying had caused hyperventilation. We immediately gave her oxygen and relaxed her emotions by appeasement, reducing her hyperventilation system or symptoms. As a final chapter in the MCU's multi-phase storyline, Avengers Endgame is naturally filled with emotional highs and lows. If you've seen it already, you'll no doubt have either cried yourself or know someone who has. I didn't. Hopefully no one else has cried themselves into the hospital, though. So she cried herself. Endgame loses woman hospitalized for crying too much. Cried herself into the hospital. It's a shame. Maybe she's just super emotional about everything. I don't know her story, but if she was just moved that much just by this movie and that's not normal for her, I think some people have way too much of an attachment to these false idols. Right? Way too much. But I think there's another in-game story in here somewhere. We'll see. Not quite sure where. Two protected classes emerging in the beast system. I already told you. It's Islam and it's LGBTQZ, all the rest. Halima Aden becomes first model to wear hijab, and burkini in Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. There we go, guys. Isn't it sexy? Sexy. Here we go. This is that's your new. This is once the world's under Sharia law. That's what the swimsuit model is going to look like for you. Right, there you go. Yep. There it is. There we go. There you have it. All right. That's it. I don't know what else to say about it. That's it. There you go. Swimsuit models. Here it is. Man shouting Avengers Endgame spoilers gets ass whooped from furious fans. The most epic beatdown at this Avengers Endgame showing didn't happen on the screen. A crowd of spoiler-sensitive Marvel fanatics pummeled a loudmouth for yelling out major plot points as they waited to see the blockbuster in a Hong Kong theater. According to the New York Post, the spoil sport, who's not identified by name, was leaving one showing of the superhero flick when he started blabbing about key moments to those waiting in line for the next showing. Infuriated moviegoers channeled their inner Hulk, beating up the bean-spilling baddie, reports said. A purported photo of the aftermath shows a man in a white t-shirt seated against a wall being treated by few onlookers as blood trickles down the right side of his face. I guess that's it. Homie got his ass whooped for spoiling. There you go. Saudi Arabia, again. You know what? I need to do a video about Saudi Arabia. That's what I need to do. Because there's so many stories about Saudi Arabia lately. Saudi Arabia's medieval executions, including for, quote, sorcerers, homosexuals, and the mentally ill, double in the last 10 years, totaling 1,100. All right, so it's kind of in line with what we're looking at this. The bodies of 5 Yemeni men beheaded in Saudi Arabia are hanging after their heads were reattached. Okay. Yeah, okay. That's brutality. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. What's this say? Indonesian maid beheaded for killing her rapist boss. All right. Here we go, guys. Saudi Arabia. Didn't they? I think they said it's the most holy city, or holds the most holy city in Islam, right? Let's see what we got here. Anything? No. All right. Women executed publicly in Riyadh's infamous Chop Chop Square are sometimes branded witches and convicted of sorcery. Okay. Wow. Saudi Arabia. I'm going to start paying closer attention to Saudi Arabia. This is jacked up right here. Apple removes apps that fight iPhone addiction from its store. Wow. Apple has come down heavily on apps that limit user screen time on its devices. The iPhone maker has removed nearly 11 out of the 17 most downloaded parental control and screen time apps from its distribution platform, App Store, the New York Times has reported. The move is also being seen as Apple's bid to push down third-party apps as it readies to go all out to promote its own screen time tracker. Apple attempting to limit its own users might be a conflict of interest with their business growth. Okay. Interesting. No. 5 best places in America to bug out when society collapses. Let's check some of these out. Many people wonder where the safest place to retreat is should a major disaster hit, an economic collapse occur, or the power grid go down for an extended period of time. In truth, there is no singular, quote, safe place where you are guaranteed to survive no matter what. But there are certain factors that make some regions safer than others. In general, the BET regions, I think they meant best regions, to survive in the United States should meet as many of the following criteria as possible. Low population density away from coastlines, little risk of natural disaster, plenty of fresh running water, an abundance of wild game and edible plants, fertile land for growing crops, long growing seasons, a current strong local or statewide economy, the ability to rebuild an economy after a disaster, protected gun rights, a low crime rate, lower cost of living housing, low property taxes, away from nuclear chemical plants and bases, away from major cities. We've attempted to include regions throughout the U.S. in our list. Let's get started. So one of the first ones is Idaho, Panhandle, and western Montana. Western Dakotas is another one. You can find this on offthegridnews.com if you're interested. I'm going to share some. Northern Arizona, northern New Hampshire, and western Maine, and eastern Kentucky, especially around the Appalachians. Just beautiful. That's on offthegridnews.com. 5 best places in America to bug out when society collapses. Just want to share that with you. Thought that was a good one. Weird one about an Oklahoma man. Oklahoma grandfather who claims a drug for dogs cured him of head-to-toe cancer is tumor-free 2 years after doctors gave him 3 months to live. In January 2017, Joe Tippins was certain that he would die of small cell lung cancer. Then a veterinarian suggested he try something unconventional, to say the least, a drug for dogs. The medication fenbendazole is an anti-worm compound used to treat hookworms, roundworms, and other gut parasites in animals, primarily dogs. In recent years, studies suggesting anti-worm drugs might have cancer-fighting properties have been cropping up in a growing number of journals. It's far from a proven treatment, but with 3 months to live and nothing to lose, Joe decided to take a chance on it. Joe was diagnosed with small cell lung cancer in 2016, turning his plans upside down just 2 days before he was set to move to Switzerland from Oklahoma. He kept up a fighting attitude, but in January 2017, he got the news that no one is prepared to hear. The aggressive cancer was everywhere. It had spread to his liver, pancreas, bladder, stomach, neck, and bones. His PET scan lit up like a Christmas tree, it says. At the late stage of small cell lung cancer, Joe's odds of survival were less than 1%, and the average life expectancy was 3 months. He had a transatlantic move planned. He was expecting a grandson, and now everything had come to a halt. Doctors at MD Anderson Cancer Treatment Center in Texas told him they wouldn't give up and would put him in a clinical trial that could save him. A year or so sounds a lot better than 3 months, so I said, let's go for it, Joe writes. Browsing an online forum for his alma mater, OSU, Joe saw a post that caught his eye the same month. If you have cancer or know someone who does, give me a shout, it said. He did, and from the poster, a veterinarian, he learned that scientists had accidentally discovered that a dog deworming drug seemed to combat many cancers in mice. The same scientist that had conducted that research as it happened had stage 4 brain cancer, and the same prognosis Joe had been given, according to the vet. She started popping the dog pills, and within 6 weeks, as the vet told the scientists, cancer was gone. Joe was a skeleton with skin hanging off at half his previous weight, he told KOCO5 News. He placed an order of fenbendazole. His new dosage of dog pills cost just $5 a week. His insurance company had spent $1.2 million on me with traditional means. That says a lot right there. Insurance company spends $1.2 million on all these traditional things that don't always work, sometimes make things worse. But these dog pills he's using that seem to be working $5 a week. According to a study published in Nature, the drug compound essentially starves cancer cells. It also is, of course, already in production, cheaper, and according to cell studies and reports from people who have tried it, not very toxic. So he never mentioned the deworming to his doctors. In May, Joe's first grandchild, Luke, was born. Joe was there to meet him. 2.5 weeks later, he had another PET scan. 3 months earlier, there was cancer in my body from head to toe, and it was a terrifyingly dangerous metastasis that leaves virtually 100% of its victims dead within 3 months. Here I was 3 months later, and the PET scan was completely dark, void of any light anywhere, Joe writes. He was dumbfounded. His oncologist was dumbfounded, according to Joe's account. Joe writes that his doctor told him, "We don't quite know what to make of this, as you were the only patient on the clinical trial with this kind of response." In September 2017, Joe went for yet another scan and was still cancer-free. At last, he told his doctor what he'd been doing outside of the hospital. There's Joe. There's no way at this point to prove that it was the deworming drug that vanished Joe's cancer, but his doctor did tell him that he was an outlier of the trial, Joe writes. Joe's final scan was taken in January 2018, had a follow-up appointment. He writes that his oncologist kicked him out of the cancer center because Joe had no cancer to treat. And that's basically the story. That's very interesting. I don't know if you know anybody that's got cancer. Maybe you've got cancer. Maybe you're looking for a different kind of treatment. Maybe this is something you could look into. Who knows? Not going to get so much into this. But Democrats preparing ultimatum for people of faith. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier. We'll read some here. The Alliance Defending Freedom, a powerhouse of civil and religious rights advocacy, has joined other groups in denouncing the Equality Act proposed in the Democratic majority House as a threat to faith. Essentially, the Equality Act gives people of faith an ultimatum: change your faith-based practices or face government punishment. Things like this is where we're seeing that shift I told you earlier, where it's no longer just censorship of Republicans or conservatives. Now we're getting more into what the real end game is, and that's targeting the Christians. WND reported it would amend the Civil Rights Act to prohibit discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, and there it is. It's been weaponized, the LGBTQIZ, right? Sexual orientation and gender identity in employment, housing, public accommodations, public education, federal funding, credit, blah, blah, all of it. Anyway. I'm doing a bigger video on this subject anyway. We'll explore it a little bit deeper, but there you go. It's just more of that Antichrist spirit on the move. And then moving more and more towards that kind of a world and society where if you don't agree with the beast system, if you're not in line with what the beast system wants you to be thinking and doing, then everything bad can happen to you. They want to take your money away, take your ways of earning money away. Muslim tells Christians, "We tried warning you. It's time to wake up about the threat of radical Islam."
As Sri Lankan authorities worry about
Watch
the
some of this.
potential of more suicide attacks by the group behind the Easter Sunday bombings, one newspaper has published an exhaustive study of all the Islamic terror attacks around the world since 9/11. According to the German newspaper Die Welt, Islamic extremists have carried out 31,222 attacks in the past 18 years. Those attacks have killed 146,811 people around the world. Most of the victims have been Muslim. The newspaper analyzed all the information gathered by the Global Terrorism Database at the University of Maryland to come up with the numbers of attacks and lives lost. The list concludes with the recent attacks in Sri Lanka that killed at least 253 people and injured more than 500 when suicide bombers targeted churches and hotels on the island nation. Joining me to discuss the impact of those sobering numbers is Muhammad Tawhidi. He's a third-generation Iranian-born Australian Muslim and author of The Tragedy of Islam, Admissions of a Muslim Imam. Mr. Tawhidi, thank you so much for coming on the show. The research shows the geography of Islamist terror stretches today from Europe to the Middle East, Asia, and Africa. How do we combat the scourge of radical Islamic terrorism?
Greetings and thank you very much for having me on. Firstly, in order for us to combat and tackle this wave of terrorism, we need to understand that the definition of terrorism that we use is different from that of the jihadists. The jihadists do not believe that what they are doing is wrong. They believe it is noble to blow themselves up, and therefore there is a clash in understanding in what exactly is going on. Firstly, they do not need an actual government or a geographic location to establish a caliphate. They target areas with weak intelligence and governments that are paying attention to other issues such as political correctness, and they infiltrate and drive their agenda in these areas.
The world saw new images of ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi this week as he warned followers that the battle of Islam against the Crusaders is a long battle, he said. Do we know how to fight this?
That's all. I just wanted to share a little bit of that. I didn't want to get into the whole thing. I think it's like 6 minutes long. I just wanted to share some of that. Chubbs, stop. All right, seriously. I was also trying to chase Chubbs down. He's doing that thing where he's trying to bite at my cords again. Come here. Come on. Go. Go on. Okay. All right, we're better. I had to throw him. Yeah, I know. You're 30 pounds. He's big. He's not easy to throw. Can you pass this test for 7-year-olds? Half the population will struggle. Let's see. National Numeracy Day falls on May 15th this year and aims to help make people feel more confident with numbers. Wait a second. I don't know if I want to do this. I'm bad with numbers. All right, let's see here. Here we go. Here's just a few. Join in if you like. You have 50 light bulbs. How many are left when 4 packs of 2 are removed? So you have 50 light bulbs. How many are left when 4 packs of 2 are removed? 4 packs of 2. I guess 42, right? That's what I'm guessing. The time is 12:51. I've been waiting since 12:30. How many minutes is that? 21 minutes? Yeah. Which of these planks of wood is the longest? 1075 millimeter, 172 centimeters, 1.27 meters, 1.7 meters. That one I don't know. Do you know? If today I can take a guess, I feel like it's 1.27 meters. I don't know. I could be wrong. Or is it 172 centimeters? I don't know. If today is Tuesday, April 14th, what is the date of the last Sunday in April? You guys know that? Moving on here. If a scarf cost $11.70 after a 10% reduction, what was the original price? All right. Mike's lunch contained 640 calories of energy. What percentage is this of his daily target intake of 2,000 calories? Yeah, so a lot of this you just got to do some basic math on. But anyway, there you go. Wasn't too bad, right? I didn't realize it was going to be a numbers test. I was hoping it'd be something else. Anything other than numbers. Restaurant under fire for adding aardvark pizza to its menu. There's aardvarks out here where I live. You ever seen them in real life? Have you? They're interesting. On Wednesday, May 8th, the Kilmarnock restaurant claimed to have made history by becoming the first eatery in Scotland to serve up aardvark. Yes, you read that right. Aardvark. Indian accent restaurant added a rather unusual item, spicy aardvark pizza. Restaurant's head chef revealed the Daily Record that the dish was made with green chilies, spicy chicken, lamb mince, and of course, aardvark. He said he had created it in order to offer customers something different and unique. Spicy aardvark. Ugh. I don't know how I feel about that. However, whether or not the pizza really does contain meat from the nocturnal mammal is yet to be determined. One customer who visited the restaurant on Wednesday claims the business backtracked on the ingredients after being confronted by an inspector. Speaking to Mail Online, they explained it was really bizarre. A woman in a white coat and a hairnet said she was an inspector and wanted more information on the aardvark pizza. Okay. She said she needed to know where it was from and if they had documentation. Oh, okay, I was wrong. We don't have aardvarks where I'm living. What was I thinking? Oh, armadillos. I was being dumb. I have armadillos where I live, not aardvarks. Okay, I got a little bit confused there. The staff member was saying it was only called an aardvark pizza. There wasn't actually any aardvark in it. Okay, well, there you go. Well, then why even see? Then that's just clickbait story. All right. We fell for one. What can you do? It happens. It's pretty cool. Have you seen this? Very interesting. The CIA's first post on Instagram is a cryptic mashup of hidden messages. This is from April 26th, 2019. Crap. And look, it's another one of these. It's Business Insider. You've got to pay them. Oh, wait. You can turn off your ad blocker. All right, let's do that. We'll pause it on this site. Okay, I got it. There we go. Anyway, here's the picture. And they kind of explain some of it below. The CIA created an Instagram account on Thursday and picked an image that depicts the agency's clandestine nature for its first post. In the picture, various items are scattered across what appears to be an office cubicle. A desk clock, an employee badge, maps of Russia and China, a few items save the 1970s style wallpaper. Look as if they belong in typical workspace of a CIA analyst. But as the picture's cryptic caption suggests, many of them have a hidden meaning. I spy with my little eye, the caption reads. Many of the items belong to current CIA employees, according to CBS News. Interesting. Some of the items pictured. Photo of CIA Director Gina Haspel. The CIA first came into operation on September 18th, 1947. So that must be that. They have a number there with that. Golden owl statue that represents Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom. Or does it represent something else? I think it does. The owl of Minerva. Right? More into the deeper into the occult than that. It's the surface answer they give us, the Athena. A desk clock's time shows 8:46 at the time when American Airlines Flight 11 hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center during the terror attacks on September 11th, 2001. Box containing cufflinks that were used by a case officer in an asset. Okay. Plan to depict an intelligence plant. Infamous classification stamp. Something that resembles a gray wig. A burn bag under the desk. An image of Tony Mendez, a CIA officer who oversaw the brazen 1979 rescue of hostages in Iran. Let's go back and look. There we go. That's that. Where is it? There you go. Okay. That's that. Very interesting. This was really weird. Indonesian election. More than 270 election staff die counting votes. Arif Priyo Sasanto, spokesman of the General Elections Commission, said 1,878 other staff had fallen ill. Some 7 million people were helping count and monitor the 17th April vote. Staff were expected to work through the night in sweltering conditions, which took a hefty physical toll on many. The elections were the first time the country of 260 million people combined the presidential vote with national and regional parliamentary votes in order to save money. Around 80% of the 193 million eligible voters cast their votes in more than 800,000 polling stations. But the huge numbers have apparently taken their toll on temporary election staff who, unlike civil servants, do not undergo a medical examination before starting work. The KPU spokesman said 272 election workers had died from overwork-related illnesses. Indonesia's election commission plans to compensate surviving families $36 million for every deceased worker, rupiah, roughly equivalent to 1 year's pay at minimum wage. Critics say the government was not prudent for combining the elections and creating unrealistic expectations of temporary staff. Wow, it's weird. I think this is a video we're going to watch. People being dumb. Road rage. Road rage alert. Not smart. I think this shows what happened. Yeah, let's check this out real quick.
Condition after allegedly flipping off a driver on the highway and then crashing. The woman and her child were making a left turn Sunday night in a suburban in Cyprus when authorities say the motorcyclist revved his engine behind her. The man in the black Harley Davidson then passed the woman on her right and flipped her the middle finger, according to KPRC. She says he then got in front of her and turned around to flip her off again. When he lost control, he hit the curb and crashed. Authorities say they performed CPR on the motorcyclist, who was taken to a hospital via life flight in critical condition. I'm Ken Molestina, CBS DFW.
Oh, my apologies, guys. I thought there was a video with that. Okay. Was that it? No, it's not it. Okay. Oh, well. Don't do that. That's the point of that story. Don't do that. This is a good one. I was one block. Here's our doom break. Just check this out. I think this plays the video here and it's really good. Yeah. All right, let's try this one. First, I'll just start it here. We'll read some. When A.C. Burleson encountered Jesus Christ as a Savior, he learned about the biblical command to deny himself, take up his cross, and follow the Lord, as Matthew 16:24 states. Years later, he says he's heard from God and has started a journey to literally carry the cross all the way to the Grand Canyon. Oh, this is an older story. Well, 430. No, this is from April 30th, 2019. Okay, it's not that old. Hi, how you doing, buddy? He's back. The moment that I gave my life to God, my life was radically changed, and that's what makes this walk kind of easy, is Jesus, he says. He shared in a recent video. I think we can link up to that. Let's watch his video and see him explain this.
One of the main things that the Lord told me to tell people as I carry this cross is to pray and be ready for the coming of Christ. And I've come from Andrews, South Carolina. I'm going to the Arizona Grand Canyon. That's where my goal is. And now whether or not I stay there or keep going, I don't know yet. It all depends.
So you started walking in South. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. One of the main things that the Lord told me to tell people as I carry this cross is to pray and be ready for the coming of Christ. And I've come from Andrews, South Carolina. I'm going to the Arizona Grand Canyon. That's where my goal is. And now whether or not I stay there or keep going, I don't know yet. It all depends.
So you started walking in South Carolina?
Yes, sir. Andrews. I started March 11th.
And you're going to the Grand Canyon?
Yes, sir. To tell people the good news of the gospel. I mean, because Jesus Christ is still good news.
And you're walking the whole way?
Yes, sir.
From Andrews, South Carolina to the Grand Canyon carrying this cross?
Yes, sir. Now, I've had a couple rides here and there. Just trusting the Lord on that, you know what I'm saying? Not too much. I mean, I didn't get too far with rides. You know, most of it's been walking. Just like right now, I just come from Corinth.
Yeah.
I just come from Corinth and, you know, just steady walking. Most of the time I pull off between 19 to 20 miles a day. You know what I'm saying? That's the most I've pulled off. The least I pulled off is like 6 or 8. You know what I'm saying? But it's all spread him. It's all about him. Everything else is junk. Everything else is junk. It's all about him.
Thank you.
Amen.
Wow. That's dedication. That is some dedication. He says anything to help get God's word out. When I got saved, God called me out to be a walking memorial for him, he said. I've never done a long distance like this before. Most of the time it was just town to town. This is the big one. I'm going all out. Since the start of his journey, he has been sharing the gospel of Christ along the way, telling people to pray and be ready for the coming of Christ. Burleson predicts it will take 3 months to get to the Grand Canyon. He carries a small tent with him, but he's met so many generous people and churches along the way that he hasn't had to use it. He has multiple stories of miracles so far, including a woman being saved from suicide. There was a woman driving, and she was just looking at me, so I waved like, hello, and kept walking. She then cut me off and is just falling out her window, weeping and crying, Burleson said. Just like that, crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? What happened? Are you all right? And she said, I was 1 block away from killing myself, and you stopped me, he continued. He's glad he obeyed God because he almost didn't carry this cross that day, but thanks to his wife and kids supporting him, he decided to walk, and that's when he encountered the woman. One guy turned his car around and immediately started trembling and tearing up when he approached me, Burleson said. God knew he needed that day. There you go. And the last story of the evening is really just a headline. George Washington High School considers removing George Washington murals because students are traumatized. It really is a shame what all these forces have done and are trying to do to America. It really is. It really, really is. It's a relentless spirit indeed. I'm going to jump over here to the chat room now for a second. I'm usually quite a bit behind you guys on the chat, so let me see if I can just catch up with you here for a second. Guys, hey, thanks again for being here tonight, man. I appreciate you checking out the show. I always love doing these, and I mentioned at the beginning of the show that for now I'm going to cut back to 2 of these a month, but in between I'll be producing a lot more videos now. Okay, and I've already put up 4 this past week. More coming this week. We'll do the show again in 2 weeks from tonight, but even in between then, like I said, I'll have a lot of extra videos coming out. Probably even some just little, hangout chat type things as well, just to kind of cover some other issues that are happening out there in the world now. But that's kind of the plan now, man. It's felt good for me to focus this past week way more on or last 2 weeks on my videos way more. And I've got a lot done, and a lot of them are almost ready to go for this week. So just thanks for your patience there and understanding. I want to just keep getting stuff out there, keep growing the channel, and just getting videos out there for people to see, man. So hopefully they can open up their eyes and get a better understanding of what's happening out there right now. Anyway, man, on that note, guys, for my Patreon and PayPal friends out there, thanks so much, man, for helping. You guys have no idea how much that helps. I'll be doing another special, oops, my mic fell. I'll be doing another special Patreon show here soon, so I'll let you know about that. And, if you want to support the work, I'll leave links below. For the moderators, ladies, thanks so much. All I saw were the ladies in the house tonight. I don't think I saw any of the guys, but thanks so much for being here. You guys always do a wonderful job. I really appreciate you. And for you just kind of hanging out and listening, man, this is all about you. I mean, if I didn't have you guys hanging out with me and listening to this stuff and chiming in, then, it'd just be me sitting around with chubs, talking into a microphone, and it'd be weird. I'm not going to kid you. That would be weird. We don't want that. Me and Chubbs like hanging out with you guys. All right, I'm rambling and being dumb now, but all kidding aside, I've got some more serious videos coming up this week. Hope you've enjoyed what I've been putting out here lately. Oh yeah, and also the message. I don't always include this, but I know it's important for those that don't know. But if you haven't accepted Christ yet as your personal Lord and Savior, please, guys, that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. All that matters at this point in the game. We can point these things out all the time, and I'll never stop. I enjoy. It's also puzzles for me. I've been doing this for 10 years now, a decade now. So I'll be here doing it, but it's more important to understand the ultimate message. We need Jesus, guys. That's it. This is why he's the most hated figure in this beast system. All he ever preached was goodness, kindness, love, and he's so hated in this world, of course, as hatred, grows in this world, and nastiness and just meanness, right? So please, Lord, sorry. Please, guys, if you haven't looked into Jesus Christ, I pray you do. It's the one thing that matters most, okay? So anyway, I'll leave you on that. Until next time, man, y'all take care. Thanks so much again for being here, and be looking out for more videos and more shows and everything else, okay? Take it easy.